Good morning. Today we're looking at Genesis chapter 28, verses 1 through 5. And as always, I encourage you to read this passage personally, because I think you're going to see how it shows the continuation of God's covenant and the importance of walking in obedience as God's plan unfolds. In verses 1 and 2, Isaac calls Jacob, blesses him again, and commands him to not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan, but to go to Paddan Aram and find a wife from his mother's family. This instruction is important because it protects the covenant line. God's promises are not random. They are preserved through intentional obedience and separation from influence that would pull the heart away from him, from God. In verses 3 and 4, Isaac speaks of a full covenant blessing over Jacob, invoking God's Almighty to bless him, make him fruitful, and multiply, and give him the blessing of Abraham. This confirms clearly that the covenant promise now continues through Jacob. What God had promised earlier is now affirmed openly. The promise includes descendants, land, and God's ongoing relationship with his people. In verse 5, Jacob is sent away toward Paddan Aram. Though his journey begins because of family conflict, it is also part of God's sovereign direction. What seems like exile is actually movement within God's plan. God often works through difficult circumstances to guide his people towards his purpose. We can also see, because of this, how this passage points us to Christ. Just as the covenant promise moved from Abraham to Isaac and now to Jacob, it ultimately leads to Jesus Christ, through whom God's blessing extends to all who believe. God's redemptive plan continues steadily across generations until its fulfillment in him. I want you to think about this today. Today, walk in obedience to what God has already made clear in his word, even when the path feels totally uncertain. Trust that God is guiding your steps, and remember that even difficult transitions may be part of his greater purpose for your life. God bless.